welcome to another episode of AP Taylor Swift, the podcast for Swifties who like to dive a layer deeper into the music. So lean in close, turn up your volume, because class is in session. We're your hosts. I'm Monsi.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Jody.
And we are your unofficial professors of Taylor Swift.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of AP Taylor Swift. This week we are doing a show and tell episode on Bridgerton. Is it the TV series? Is it the novels? Is it Jennifer hasn't read or seen them, so she's going to be talking about tropes? You'll have to listen to find out. But we're really excited about this. We've been talking about this. We were just saying it came up a few times in the past, I believe in our Shakespeare episode. We love period pieces as a group here, so really excited. But before we get into the Taylor of it all, Monzi, you want to give us a reminder or maybe just teach me a little bit about Bridgerton, perhaps?
Have you lived in a bubble for the last 5 years?
Cultural osmosis. I know the characters' names. I know the plots at a high level.
You probably know enough.
And doesn't know is that she would actually love it and needs to give it a shot.
It is not me, to be clear, it is not me being like, I don't want to watch it. It has been purely a time and a life priorities thing.
Fair.
I don't watch many scripted TV shows, so.
I can very much appreciate that, and
we're here to help.
Totally
Jen. We're
respect
here to help.
that. Let this be your first exposure, and also to our listeners, in case you're not on the Bridgerton train. But we'll make this Bridgerton for dummies, if you will. But also, of course, like we do with everything,
sponsor us, Bridgerton.
Tie it back to the themes. That's all it's really about at the end of the day. Making comparisons between Taylor's music to kind of amazing work that's out there.
Yeah, and I feel like, listeners, if you aren't familiar with it, if I can record this episode without being familiar with it, I am confident you will be able to listen and enjoy this episode.
You'll be good.
Without it.
Yes. And one thing that I want to call out at the top of the show is oftentimes we do the dear listeners, and we do this for many reasons, partially because Taylor talks to us as readers. We all listen to her music, and I don't know, it's just funny. But also, Lady Whistledown also starts off the episodes with dear readers. I'm going to say that at the front as just an honorable mention, because we did not do Dear Reader as our song, but it feels like an appropriate opening. And then we are releasing this episode in honor of the new Bridgerton series that's coming out. They are not sponsoring us, so this is...
But if they'd like to,
just
our
us.
inbox and DMs are open.
Yes. Otherwise, this is just us being fans.
This is just fun.
So I want to give a little bit of background on the series. The Bridgerton series came out first as a series of books that were written by Julia Quinn. She published these novels from the years between 2000 to 2006. And there were 8 books that she released that are set in Regency era England. We now know, for those of us who watch Queen Charlotte, that it is specifically King George's era England. And the reason that's important is, like, yes, that's Regency era, but for a while I think people were not sure if this was like a fictitious world that she had created that just had Regency vibes, or if there was any actual truth to the time and setting of it. And in the Queen Charlotte series, at least to me, it came as like a major shock when it was just revealed of like who the king and queen are, and the fact that it's
wasn't
their
as
England.
Shocking to me, because I feel like it was season 2 when King George comes out and he's like clearly,
The Mad King,
the Mad King. And so you're like, oh, okay. But to your point, it's not explicit.
It's not explicit, and it wasn't a focal point. And so I think it was just such a minor detail in the thing that I was not paying attention. And then you have the whole spin-off
series. It's a little
series,
distracting
Queen Charlotte,
otherwise. Like, there's other things to focus on in this series that's not like the historical, like, oh, that's King George.
And part of the reason that people were not sure if it was set in like a real place or fictitious is because Shonda Rhimes adapted Quinn's novels into the TV series. They came out in 2020 was the first episode, but she took a lot of creative liberties with the casting and even the way that the language was written, everything. Although the costumes and the sets felt like they were set in Regency era, everything else was kind of brought forward into the modern era. There was colorblind casting, very diverse cast, even like even when it came to the main leads, the way that they talked, although still had British accents, the dialogues and the themes and the topics and the relationships, the way that everything was approached felt like it was being approached from a very modern 21st century lens.
I have seen it compared to, I think it's Sofia Coppola's, I think I
Coppola,
just
yeah.
said her name
Yeah,
wrong,
Marie
but
Antoinette.
Coppola,
Marie Antoinette, yeah,
Antoinette.
the
Also-
anachronisms, but still staying true to like characters and themes, but not making it like perfectly historically accurate, which is fun.
It also feels like very Baz Luhrmann.
That was
Romeo and
what I was
Juliet
gonna
or
say,
Moulin
yeah.
Rouge, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen this before. I mean, even Shakespeare's The Globe Theater does this with their
Yes.
productions of Shakespeare plays, where it's still in Shakespeare's language, Old English, but they'll set it in very different time periods. I saw a production of Midsummer Night's Dream that was all like neon, and Puck was carrying around a Pizza Express box. This is a common thing often done in
Yes.
theater to make these things more accessible and relatable to modern audiences.
And
Yes.
it's not that big of a deal, but just in case any of my professors are listening, Shakespeare is technically early modern English. And I just feel like I would get in trouble if I didn't note that I'm aware of that.
The word modern and how you can get more modern.
Contemporary audiences.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
will
Old
say.
English is what Beowulf was in. Middle
Sorry.
English is Chaucer, and then early modern is
English
Shakespeare.
from Shakespearean language.
Yes, early
adapted for
modern, and then now we're into modern.
contemporary. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate
That's
this
why
reminder.
we're AP.
It's
That's what
been
we're
a
AP.
while since Jen has given us the modern English
Somebody
talk,
did.
so I appreciate it.
I was talking about this podcast recently, like, so why are you qualified to be AP Taylor Swift? I was like, well, I'm not, but Jen is.
We have a professor. No.
To be clear, it is not normal knowledge, and nor should you have it. But
If
I
you're
know
taking
that I
the
have,
AP English exam or studying English, you absolutely should have it. So thank you, Jen.
and I know I have former classmates who listen, and I don't want them to be like, Jennifer,
She's
are
wrong.
you that far gone?
Anyway, back to
Well,
Bridgerton.
A few things that I also just want to stress before we dive in and tie this all to Taylor Swift, which I know is what all of us really care about, is that one of the other things that is very modernistic in the non-literary, non-Shakespeare modern, but like contemporary way of saying is there's a very, first of all, there's today's music is folded in the strings format. Also not a completely new thing. Like Moulin Rouge also took in present day songs and incorporated it in. But it was a huge hit in the way that it was done in the strings, the soundtrack. It kind of it's something that feels like it should be classical, but it's songs like pop songs, and Taylor Swift's music is a part of that. We'll talk about some of that today. There's also very sex positive storytelling, and it's very like a female driven narrative, which I think like we did kind of see in Marie Antoinette, but we don't see as often. And so even though these ideas are not new and this concept has been done before, it is just another way of seeing like a more female driven show, storytelling, very diverse and kind of colorblind casting. Just right off the gate, you were really invited in this show to kind of like leave all of your expectations behind and just see a version of the Ton that looks so familiar to us today and feels like something that we could just kind of fit into.
Do you want to define the Ton?
Yes, I do want to define the Ton in a second, though. I want to get to some themes and then talk about the Ton, and especially as it pertains to Taylor Swift. So there are a few themes throughout the books and the shows that actually fit really nicely into Taylor's music. And when we think about just where this pop culture phenomenon fits literarily. So one of them is, of course, there's Regency romance. We have talked about Jane Austen before on the show. We talked about Pride and Prejudice. A lot of the kind of setup and the vibes and the feeling of the show kind of plays homage to that era. You've got the marriage market, and it's all about marriageability and girls reaching a certain age and needing to find the right husband. There's social satire. And then there's the concept of the Ton being where everybody congregates and gossips together. And it's just women often being very much entrenched in this gossip culture. And what are people saying? Who's the who of the town? How do you kind of survive amongst the townspeople? This is something that we've talked about with Taylor's music in the past, of how she often makes commentaries on society and what are people saying, and the Sallys and the Hannahs and the, like the people.
Sarah's and Hannah's,
Sarah's,
but
sorry.
Sally's,
Sorry. Sally, maybe Sally's are fine. Okay.
Sally's are fine.
And then
Jen's classmates are going to yell at her about modern English, and someone's going to yell at us about Sarah's and Hannah's. The Sarah's and Hannah's are going to yell at us.
One of the other things that's really important and kind of comes with Regency pieces when you study it is the agency aspect of the power that women wield. And because this is a female-driven kind of show and story, you see gossip as a narrative and PowerPoint that comes up in the shows, the books. There's a character, Lady Whistledown, that kind of acts as this all-seeing narrator. They're the ones driving the story forward. They are aware of all of the Ton's secrets, and we don't know who that person is. And they publish a newsletter that comes out unexpectedly, and all of a sudden, the whole Ton is ablaze with rumors every time that column is dropped. And this is such an amazing concept because gossip gets a bad rep, but back in the day, women really leveraged gossip to their advantage. It was almost a social currency for climbing and moving forward and navigating these societies. And it kind of a way in which women who didn't have a lot of agency often could exercise that power and kind of get things to work for them. And then finally, Jen will probably talk more about the romance of it all, but romance as a serious storytelling point is has always been a thing and should be more recognized, but I think has been kind of like hush hush in the past and is kind of now coming out into the open. Like, women love their romance novels and have always been interested in just this genre. It's very, but because it's gendered, it's often not been taken very seriously as a serious form of literature, and it can often be dismissed. In this TV series, you really have a show that's entirely built around these romantic lines. The whole buildup happens to like the main characters coming together in an explosive, fiery, passionate embrace. And just like that's the climax of the film or the series. And that's like the thing that you're building towards the whole time. And it's done very beautifully and very technically, like in a very technically sound way. It's great writing, great music, great sets. Like everything is done in a very serious way. And it's very high quality production that's gotten a lot of recognition for that. And I just think that's cool because all of these things show up in Taylor's music. This like love story themes, the gossip, the talk of the town, and just building in a lot of female feminist kind of history and culture.
And then in addition to just the thematic connections, her music has also been used in the show. So season 1, they covered Wildest Dreams. In season 3, we got 2 Taylor Swift songs, Snow on the Beach and You Belong With Me. And then we'll see what happens for season 4.
Yeah. I don't need I'm not gonna give a synopsis of each of the seasons. I assume that we'll kind of like talk through it as we talk through our songs. So Jody, you want to kick it off with the first song?
Yes, I have the first song. I also just want to note that my showgirl feathered fan translates beautifully for a Bridgerton episode. So I'm very grateful for my.
It was a good investment, multi-use.
This was also, oh no, it was the boa that was ridiculously expensive. So I will need to wire that again. Anyway, I have the first song. I picked I Wish You Would from 1989. This came out in 2014, written by Taylor Swift and Jack Antonoff, and this is track 7. I picked this song because I decided to rewatch season 2 because after I saw Wicked, I needed more Jonathan Bailey. So I went straight to season 2, skipped over season 1. I've watched it all before, but season 2. And if for our listeners or readers who need a little recap, the crux of season 2, it follows Anthony, who is Jonathan Bailey, and his enemies to lovers romance with Kate Sharma, played by Simone Ashley. But this is a forbidden romance because Anthony is actually courting her younger sister. But there's this tension the whole time. And because we have sort of this omniscient narrator within Bridgerton, we know that this tension is because they are actually very attracted to one another, but they seemingly don't know that until the wedding, when finally the sister realizes it and is like, oh shit, I can't marry this guy. He is literally making eyes at my sister during my wedding. And that's also somehow when the two of them finally like admit to themselves, oh, I'm in love with this person. So even after the wedding is called off, because that's like episode 4 or 5, it's actually kind of mid to late season. So there's a long buildup before they actually acknowledge that they are in love with one another. So after the wedding is called off, right after that wedding, they make out and acknowledge their feelings for each other, but then they ignore each other and won't admit what happened to each other or give in to how they're feeling, largely because of societal pressure, because the town is scandalized in the first place that the wedding has been called off literally at the wedding. So to then show it was called off because the groom and the sister are in love with each other, like, total scandal. So they don't admit to each other or they don't engage after that kiss. Their whole dynamic is this I wish you would dynamic. Now, I'll pause for a hot second and say, I know that the very beginning of the song says that it's like clearly ex-lovers and she's reminiscing. I'm ignoring that first verse because if you listen to the rest of it, it has this I wish you would dynamic. I'm going to read for you first, Exhibit A, the pre-chorus into the chorus. You think I'm going to hate you now because you still don't know what I never said. I wish you would come back. Wish I'd never hung up the phone like I did. I wish you knew that I'd never forget you as long as I'd live. And I wish you were right here, right now. It's all good. I wish you would. So there's this longing. Well, their whole relationship is you think I hate you and I think I hate you, but I really don't. I wish you'd be here. I wish you would make a move. I wish you would say something. I wish you would change this dynamic. And because I feel I love you. I burn for you is I think the season 1 phrasing.
Yes. I love that.
Right? Wait, there's more. First two, also, if I wasn't clear, this is from Kate Sharma's perspective. Yes, this I think so. I mean, I think you could probably actually, now that I say that and the fact that you were like, oh, it probably could be from both. I think it could very much be from either Anthony or Kate Sharma's perspective. I just saw it from Kate's perspective, probably because of verse 2. It says, where a crooked love in a straight line down makes you want to run and hide, then it makes you turn right back around. Anthony does turn back around and eventually, so, my God, this is it's like so fun. Wedding gets called off, they make out, they ignore each other, they like tiptoe around each other, and then they somehow find each other in the woods and consummate their relationship, and they're like, oh my God, we are in love.
I don't think it's in the woods. I think it's like in the backyard, but yeah.
Whatever. It's outside. It's a garden. It rains. Like it's
in nature.
It's in nature.
I'm sure that's symbolic for being away from the pressures of society
Correct.
and being able
they
to
are
give
not
into their
in the home.
Yeah, their natural instincts or whatever.
And it's only then after that moment that Anthony is like, oh my God, I love her. Like, that's what makes him turn right back around. But spoiler alert, Kate has left that morning and then she hops on a horse and she's running through the woods and she's like,
I believe
oh my God,
the
what
word
did I do?
mistake is used. And we all know how
Correct.
in a romance, the word mistake
Correct.
never.
But he does turn back around. And then finally, final exhibit, the bridge, because it's always the bridge. This is really for me when I listened to this song was like, this is their relationship. You always knew how to push my buttons. You gave me everything and nothing. This mad, mad love makes you come rushing. Stand back where you stood. I wish you would. I wish you would. Because the whole time, even as an audience, we wish they would. We're like, come on, guys. Like, let's
Season 2, we know the drill here.
Like, we know the drill here. Clearly, there's so much sexual tension between these two. Like, you get it. And I wish you would, please.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why I picked it, because I wish they would.
That's amazing. A fun note for Jen that I think you need to know is that the 8 books are written about the 8 Bridgerton children.
Okay.
Lady and Lord Bridgerton had 8 children and named them all after
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
The alphabet, like in alphabetical order. So if you hear the name Anthony, it's child number 1 because it starts with an A. Also, all of the girls are named after flowers. Like Daphne, season 1, the main character is Daphne.
Daphne's a flower?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't know that.
Is it?
The Daphne flower symbolizes immortality, transformation, and enduring
I know they're all
beauty.
named after flower because one of them is like hyacinth, and that's definitely a flower.
One was named after flowers.
And yeah, like Daphne is the D. So like there's 3 boys. There's Anthony, Benedict, and Colin. And then there's Daphne, and then
Eloise. Is Eloise a flower?
Eloise, and then Francesca or I don't know. I think it's Francesca. Which
There is
also,
a climbing rose that is known as the Sweet Eloise.
yeah, and Francesca too, I think is a flower. And then Hyacinth.
Hyacinth, definitely a flower.
EFG. Who's G?
I
Oh,
don't
there's
know.
a George. There's
The
a little
boy.
bit. Yeah,
The
there's a
little
younger
baby
boy.
boy.
Anyway, that's how you remember the name because they're all in ABC order. So that's a fun fact. So if you hear us use the main characters, that's how you can tell their age. I think this is great. Yeah, like one of the things that I really liked about season 2 was season 2 really played into the Pride and Prejudiceness of the characters in that they're both very stubborn. It's a like hate to love kind of thing.
Yes.
I
And
think
there
the
was a
youngest
duty.
boy is named Gregory based on a quick Google.
Gregory.
See, it's fine. He's not really a focus because he's too young to
No,
have a
but
romantic tryst.
just don't add us.
But he'll
okay?
be a main character by the time they get to his season.
Or do at us because engagement. It's all engagement.
Yeah,
all engagement
that's
is
true.
good engagement.
No, but
We
he's going to
just
be
start
like
putting in
25 by
Incorrect
the time they
things.
get to G.
Yeah, by the time they roll out to his episode, he will be
Yeah.
They're gonna have to recast that character by the time they roll out to that episode. He'll be like 50.
I love that you connected it to Pride and Prejudice because I think there's always a theme of societal pressure and expectations, but there is that like I think is elevated in season 2.
Yeah.
Both because Anthony and Kate feel like they are making the choice that they ignore and deny their love for each other because they feel they are making the choice that is right for their family. They have this familial duty to make sure they are creating a match that is financially acceptable and supportive for their whole family.
And I just feel like the personalities were very much borrowed from like the Keira Knightley version of Pride and Prejudice also. It's like, it's very like Kate feels responsible for her family. She's the older sister. Their mother like had fallen from grace in the Ton. And so Kate feels very responsible to like make things happen for their family. They have this stubbornness streak. They're very much denying their feelings for each other. But deep down, there's this I wish you would feeling of just like obsessiveness, but they just don't admit it for a while.
Also, the fact that they finally consummate their relationship under this cupola in the garden is very Darcy and Elizabeth. Finally.
I don't know if that ever happens in the G-rated version of the movie that I watched or like PG.
The Keira Knightley version.
Is that
the Confession of Love? So it's
yeah,
I know. You said consummated their relationship.
No, but like when they finally like confessed and like gave in, it was outside. I don't know.
Yes. This is like a little.
Well, Anthony and Kate definitely consummated their relationship. Darcy just confessed his love, and then she was like, "Are you effing kidding me?"
Yeah. I think one of the things too is like pros and cons of romance stories, which will be what I talk about when I talk more.
Are there cons? They're amazing. I'm kidding.
Is that there are tropes and they're kind of like reliable storylines, which can be fun and you can play with it. But then saying like, oh, this is similar to Pride and Prejudice. Like, yeah, this is a trope. Enemies to lovers is a trope. Pride and Prejudice does it. Season 2 of Bridgerton does it. Like, so it's that you can play with it and that's fun. But then like we can make these comparisons too forever. And Taylor likes to play with tropes. Just bringing it back to Taylor. She does this all the time. And like, I wish you would is like sort of, it's like lovers to enemies to lovers, or like lovers to enemies to wishing you were back.
Yeah, reminiscing about an ex-love and thinking fondly on it and wishing that things.
I just want to say though, it's not. I didn't think it's Pride and Prejudice just because of enemies to lovers. It's like the stubbornness and the prejudices that are already there. Like it's very much a part of this season of like the pride is there and the prejudice is there in their characters. And I don't see that as clearly in some of the other seasons. Like every characters have like kind of different flaws. And so that's one of the reasons that I kind of like, I feel like a lot of people liked this season. Also just because the acting was phenomenal.
Because Jonathan Bailey.
The clips I've seen, they just also had incredible chemistry. And that's You can't do these shows without that chemistry being there.
Totally.
You can. I think it's
you can.
actually.
Well, you can, but it's not gonna. You shouldn't, I suppose, is the better word.
Cool. Should we get to the next song?
Like I said, I have not seen this. Cultural osmosis, I understand what's happening in a lot of these, but I do know a decent amount about like romance novels, romance novel tropes. And I went with the obvious choice because I felt like we should talk about it. So I went with Wildest Dreams, which of course also came out on 1989 and was written by Taylor Swift, Max Martin, and Shellback, and it's track 9. So just 2 tracks after I Wish You Would. And the reason I chose this is, like we said at the beginning, the instrumental version of this was used in season 1. So I'll be talking about season 1, which is Daphne and Simon's relationship. So this was not enemies to lover. This was fake dating, fake relationship trope. So they're pretending to be together to achieve their own personal goals. And through the proximity of the fake dating, they end up developing real feelings. I love Jonathan Bailey, but fake dating is one of my personal favorite romance tropes. I love forced proximity and fake dating, so I know I need to watch this. I just haven't. I will get there. But the song itself, Wildest Dreams, the instrumental version is playing, from my understanding on internet research, during their honeymoon montage. So one of the other tropes that I believe happens in the season is like the like sexual awakening of an innocent young woman, and this song is what's playing really during the montage of that sexual awakening, which, like, good for you, Daphne, get it. But the thing that I wanted to talk about is a little bit of why is this song fitting for a Regency era romance. And I actually, as I was getting into it, really felt like this song does capture a lot of the core parts of a novel romance story. So a lot of things, but one, when you look at romance stories in general, like romance novels, they tend to be, yes, very sensual, but in a female gaze way. So it's a lot more about how you feel with the other person. The men are very female gaze, so they're not like super buff masculine dudes. They tend to be kind of gentle and they have good core feelings. So even though they are often also the reformed rake, which is someone who made bad decisions and they're becoming pure for their loved one, they still tend to have a really strong moral center of some sort where they're doing the honorable thing. The point of this is that I think Wildest Dreams also has that female gaze. So just like some simple things as he's so tall and handsome as hell, like, yeah, that's great. But then it's also like his voice is a familiar sound and it's his hands are in my hair and say you'll remember me in a nice dress. Like, all of these are very sensual and very romantic, but in a female gaze way. It's not crass, it's not crude, but it's like he's tall and he's handsome and his hands are in my hair. Like, there are all of these like really romantic gestures.
Yeah, it's more
And
like objectifying the man to some degree rather than objectifying the
Amen.
women, where a lot of times, like in the male gaze, you might have both. Like, a lot of times male writers will also objectify the men or like write about them in a way, but it's very like the women are noticeably objectified in a different way.
yeah, and it's less about like, oh, he has strong muscles or whatever, and it's
Exactly,
more
yeah.
about like the way he's treating me. His hands are in my hair.
Yeah.
He's gonna remember this moment of me in my dress looking beautiful. He's tall and he's handsome. Like, they're very like holistic. It's not this weird like physical like fixation.
Wholesome things.
Yeah, but in a very like it's still very romantic, and I keep using the word sensual, and I'm using that intentionally instead of sexual. She's not
Yeah.
sexualizing, it's a sensual thing. Like, how are you feeling emotionally? How do you physically feel with that
passionate.
person? Much more
Yeah.
passionate, much more, it's like very gentle, but it's still like has that undertone.
Very influenced by the music video because
Yes, fair.
we have one for this. And I feel like the use of the old Hollywood trope gets at that because I think these old Hollywood films that the music video was inspired by, like The African Queen and Out of Africa, it's more classic romance. It's not sexualized.
Yeah. And then one other thing, and I don't know if it sounds like this does happen for Kate and Anthony. I don't know if it's really a Daphne and Simon thing, but a really common thing in romance novels is what they call the F it moment, where
This happens.
okay, I was
Can
like,
confirm.
The irony is it happens after they're already married.
They're
in the
already
first one.
married.
Yeah.
yeah. But the concept is that, like, so typically in these stories, there's something preventing them from being fully together and fully themselves. So there's a lot of ways this looks. But in most romance novels and romance stories, you'll see the F it moment where they look at each other and are like, despite these circumstances, F it, we're going to do this anyways, which, can look in different ways. But that F it moment is that satisfying moment. Like, as you were saying, Jody, and you wish you would do it. You wish they would have the F it moment. Just
also
do
love
it.
that you're editing yourself.
I know. I was like, I don't think this will be explicit, so
The third song might be, so.
Okay,
it might
that's
be
fair.
explicit,
Well,
yeah.
all right. It's fine.
The show is explicit, so.
The show is explicit, and the F it moment that you're referring to is very explicit female gaze, so.
Well, and pulling that into Wildest Dreams, I think Wildest Dreams has that, where one of the repeated lyrics is, nothing lasts forever, but this is getting good now. And that absolutely captures that F it moment where you're like not thinking about the consequences, but like this is getting good now. And then of course the whole song is like, none of this is gonna last, but remember me, remember this moment, remember how I looked, remember all of this, of like the external forces, whatever they may be in the song, are going to be too strong, but we're going to do this anyways. It's getting good now. And I can see the end as it begins, but my one condition is, so I know we're doing this and it's not going to go well. And my only condition is just to remember this and remember the romance of this, remember the beauty of this moment. So like, F it, we're doing it anyways.
Yeah, I think also in season one thing that was really relevant to the song in particular is I think that, so for a while, they're just pretend dating, right? Like they're like in this pretend relationship, it's an arrangement. They definitely both start to like each other, but then the circumstances in which they get married is not purely romantic. Like basically they get caught like having a moment of weakness and embracing outside in the garden, and like tons people catch them. I actually think it's Anthony that catches them, but basically like people find out that they were alone. And so Anthony is like, you got to get married now. Like, you were out here alone with my sister. Her reputation is at stake here.
The double
like,
standard then in
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the reason that I say that is that they actually did like each other, but that misunderstanding happens. And so when they get married, it feels like they're walking to their funeral. Like they feel like they're getting married just because they have to, not because they want to. And they're both upset about it. And it's not until this honeymoon montage that they're like, they have the famous, like, I burn for you line. And they realize, like, oh, they actually do love each other. And they've been like dreaming about this for a while. Like Daphne has literally been dreaming about it. He's been dreaming about it. So the Wildest Dreams is like extra relevant also just because that moment is like, has been quite dreamt about, and people just, they both thought that they didn't actually love each other, but they do.
Yeah, and I don't think this works as well for this season, but just for romance novels as a whole, the bridge is, I mean, of course it's a bridge, but it really speaks to that sort of like, this is a bad idea, but we're going to do it anyways. You'll see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning it down. Someday when you leave me, I bet these memories follow you around. And the reason I want to just bring that up is that's very female gaze of a woman looking typically at a man, not always, but this female moment of, okay, it's like the confidence we aspire to as women, where you're like looking at a man and you're like, this isn't going to go well, but you will remember how great this experience is for like the rest of your life. And I love that, because I also think there is like an aspirational confidence often in these romance novels of these women, even when they're like the innocent woman who's like learning her sexuality, she learns it. She's able to experience pleasure. She's able to experience desire. And I think there is it's aspirational sometimes in reading that and being like, oh yeah, I can enjoy this. I can be present in this moment. I can, ask for what I need. I can like do that. And I think that some of that confidence of like, yeah, this is going to be amazing is a core part of these romance stories.
Yeah, and I think especially in that era too, women were powerless in many, many ways, and this was a way that they could wield power.
And it has not improved as much as it should have.
I mean, like these days. So yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I love the song. I'm so glad you did it.
And I think that this conversation transitions to your song pretty well, Monty.
It does.
Talk about agency.
Talk about agency. I did the song Dress. It's written by Jack Antonoff and Taylor Swift and is on Reputation, came out in the year 2017. I actually came to this song from the Daphne Simon plotline. And so I think it is a good segue, and it kind of starts there because I was thinking about the I Burn For You line, and I was like, what's a song about like burning and that the like fire and the heat? And I just thought of Dress. We are going to be deep diving this one, so we'll go into more details about the lyrics. We've talked about the song a few times in past episodes, and so this is the time that we're picking to deep dive it. Yay, finally. But there is a line in the song, and if I get burned, at least we were electrified. But it's interesting. I started from there with that line for inspiration. I think it is evolved, and I actually think the song is more applicable to season 3, the Colin Penelope plotline. And
we did it. We didn't
we
plan
did
it,
it.
everyone,
We did
but
all
we did
three.
it.
I know. I was like, wow, this works out.
Yeah,
and it's
but that's
very,
also
very
my
convenient.
least favorite one. But it's
I
fine.
know. Okay, so this is the thing. I know it was also not my favorite season. I think there were really high hopes for it. I have a controversial opinion that it was just over marketed, actually. We had almost seen the entire season in promotions before we ever got to the season. And I just felt like there was very little left of the show that was new and novel. So although I didn't like it, a lot of people were like, the chemistry was just like not really there. It's hard to know because I do feel like the
Yeah.
overexposure, and they did a ton of interviews, and I think
Right.
hearing from the actors a lot,
Too much.
also it doesn't help sometimes
Also,
to see
those
them.
were for the other seasons. There was always an unknown person, or I mean, the first
Exactly.
season
That's what I
obviously
was saying.
everybody was
Yeah.
unknown. Season 2, the Sharmas were totally unknown. Season 3, like they've been playing with this idea that Penelope is in love with Colin for 2 seasons now.
Yeah, exactly. And so you already know the characters, but then I think the way that they did the interviews also just kind of like, it was like a little too much visibility. But
yeah, I also think there was like some fat phobia for
Possibly, but I don't
Nicola
know because
Coughlan.
I feel like I don't know. That's to me. I mean, I think she's so good in the first 2 seasons.
yeah.
I know I mean, I love that actress. I mean, I remember seeing articles come out about like, oh, is society not ready for like a mixed weight relationship? And I'm like,
That's
dude,
bullshit.
large dudes have been dating super hot girls in comedies that the men wrote
Forever.
for years. So like, I did see like a lot of like people having that conversation, and I was like,
I
shut
think
up.
that's the media trying to like.
No, well, I think it would be silly to ignore it because I do think that there were a lot of comments that were incredibly mean around that was a contributing factor. But I
Which
also think
just historically, I want to point out she was the beauty standard for the Regency
She was
era.
probably the size.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
well, so that's what
the
I was going to
beauty
say is like,
standard.
even though there were a lot of mean comments, I do think that the fans were open, like more open maybe, but I almost wonder if it's like to compensate, the show did like so much of the overexposure in the press. And I think like,
Yes.
this is my theory as a marketing person. I'm like, I think I had seen too much too early. And then this is deliberately this time for this next season. Like I had been holding off. Like I don't want to watch anything. I don't want to watch any trailers, any interviews, anything. Anyways, who is Penelope and who is Colin? For those of you who don't even know, like we just went straight into it. But the reason that I think that Dress is so relevant to this group, Penelope is Eloise, who's one of the sisters, the Bridgerton sisters. Penelope is her best friend growing up. And she is kind of categorized or characterized as this wallflower who just lurks awkwardly on the side. She has this like strawberry reddish curly hair that always clashes horribly with all of the outfits that she's wearing. She's always dressed in yellow, like the color of yellow that's associated with her. And the idea is that her mother, Penelope's mother, is not as well off, or their father had a gambling problem, and so they lose a lot of their money because of his gambling, and then he ends up committing suicide. And so there's this woman here who has 3 daughters that she needs to get married off, and is like her priority in life is I got to get my daughters to marry up and settle down before anyone realizes that we're poor. She's kind of a ridiculous character, but especially in season 3, you see a little bit of a like more desperate, softer side of her because she is like acting out of fear and desperation at times because she just wants her daughters to be settled well because she's had a tough card dealt to her, and so makes some questionable decisions. But That's where it's coming from. And Penelope always kind of like hates her mom. Like she's just like, oh, she's always putting me in these outfits. She doesn't understand. Like it's a love-hate relationship. Like obviously she loves her mother, but she in season 3 is when she really starts to understand her mother's motives. And we as the viewers kind of go through that journey with her. It is interesting because Penelope, we find out, and this is a spoiler for people who haven't
I was
watched
like, is she going to say it or
I
is
was
she
like,
want to
should I
avoid
say it?
spoilers?
Because Jen has
Yeah,
watched it,
you
but Jen
should.
has
You
read
should
up
just
this
say
entire thing, so Jen
Spoiler
knows.
alert.
Penelope
Yes,
is
I've
Lady
known this for a long
Whistledown.
time.
And so we find out that in the corners, while she's a wallflower lurking in the sides, she's listening to all of the gossip, and she can get away with it because no one really notices her ever. And Penelope is really sharp with a quill and really witty and really funny, and she writes all these amazing things. And she's also grown up. Even though she's Eloise's best friend, she also had another friend in the Bridgerton household, and that was Colin, the third brother. And so the season 3 is when Colin and Penelope's lines start to unfold. Penelope makes a decision at the end of season 2 that she doesn't want to be a wallflower anymore, and she wants to be seen and noticed, and she wants to shoot her shot. And so one of the things that she does is she makes this alliance with the town's modiste. It's the person who makes all their dresses, the town dressmaker. And the town dressmaker helps her with publishing her Lady Whistledown papers. But in return, Penelope is also like, hey, like while we're doing this, can I get some new dresses made? I want to break free of these ridiculous outfits that my mom makes me wear that make me look like a prepubescent child. I am a woman and I want to act like I want to look the part. And so she starts getting these beautiful dresses made that look very flattering on her, and they're like more the colors she wants to wear. And Colin starts to notice her. And so the reason that I love this song and why I think it's so perfect is because they are like, they have this chemistry going, and they're noticing each other. They have like this friendship that's turning into romance slowly kind of over time. But there's kind of this idea of, I only bought this dress so you could take it off when we get to the F it moment in this season, where she has been just building herself up and trying to look a particular way and just like trying to get him to notice her, because she has just loved him all along, and she doesn't want to just be seen as a friend anymore. She doesn't want to be friend zoned. She doesn't want to be pushed aside. She wants to be his wife, and she just wants to shoot her shot. There are specific lines. I mean, secret moments in a crowded room. They got no idea about me and you. I like is just for all of Bridgerton. I feel like there's always these moments where like there's something happening in the story here and other people are not aware of it. My hands shaking from all this, say my name, everything just stops. I mean, the final like Penelope Colin moment is love it or hate it. Like people had a lot to say about the way it like showed up on the show, and honestly, there was great predecessors that they needed to stack up to, but it was a moment that like the book lovers especially really, really love, because it's been woven in through the stories for so long. Like everybody knows how much Penelope loves Colin. Like she's always writing to him, she was always thinking about him, but she was always kind of categorized as like the little sister's best friend. And so many of us have all been like friend zone or pushed aside, or like you always have like this person who you're like, oh, I just wish this person would notice me. And so it's like a real moment that builds up to that moment of finally getting that recognition. And it's a shaky moment. It's a sweet moment. It's not like the rough and tough, like fire burning, like in some of the other relationships in the series. It's very sweet, but like the anticipation has been building, and it just kind of feels like this really nice culmination. And only bought this dress so you could take it off. The really nice modiste dress that Penelope has. They come off. And
I
that's
love
all I
that.
have to say about that.
I love that. I like what you're saying, that like the opening of the song, Our Secret Romance in a Crowded Room, could be about anybody, but the lines, say my name and everything just stops, I don't want you like a best friend, is uniquely Colin and Penelope. That is exactly their relationship. And this is exactly her saying, that is not how I want this relationship to go. I want this to be something so much more.
I am now distanced enough from it that if I have time to get into these seasons, I will let you know how I feel about season 3. The critiques, it's makes me sad because the critiques I heard from just like friends was that like they just didn't care about Colin as the
Yeah.
that like female gaze, the man needs to be something you like, and Colin wasn't working for a lot of people, which makes me sad because I do think Penelope's storyline, just from what I've heard about it and as you were describing it, is so relatable and
Yes.
sweet and like deserves attention. So then it's sad that the way that Colin was characterized and was done was just like, and I mean, like, it's hard to follow Jonathan Bailey. Like, I feel for your buddy.
I don't fault
The
the
actor.
actor entirely. I think that is a stacked cast. And you were talking about, Jen, your favorite romance tropes. And I was like, my favorite romance trope is Jonathan Bailey. So, like, it's not, that's
Yeah.
it. Done.
Well, there's a few things. I mean, it's a fascinating, like, case study, actually, if you compare all the seasons to, like, what worked and what didn't work. Like, I'm so curious, like, what they decide to react and pivot for season 4 based on that, because first of all, it was a new showrunner. So Shonda Rhimes wrote the first 2, and then this one is a different person. Straight up, like, I don't think the writing was as good. And then I think the media strategy, the PR media strategy, did not set them up for success.
Yeah.
Actually, funny enough, the actor Luke Newton and Nicola Coughlan actually had like incredible chemistry in real life. Like, I actually feel like their real life interview chemistry was better than what was on the show, which is why I'm like, it might have been the writing. It could have been the overexposure. But it's so interesting, like, both of them super sweet, and the way that he looks, like costumes, like whatever, like hair, everything in the press, I think was just better than whatever came out in the show. And then I think it was the fact that there were so many clips that were like already shown that the show kind of like fizzled.
Yeah, I think there's something to me that's sad that the season about the wallflower taking a stand was the season that's getting kind of ignored. And I'm like, no, that's really sad to me.
Justice for wallflowers.
Justice for Penelope.
I have heard that people love the book
Yes.
of those, like their book. So it does seem like it was just kind of done poorly. But yeah, like,
and you never know,
wallflowers deserve their moment.
These
Give it to
characters
them.
also make appearances in future seasons. So like, I loved seeing Kate and Anthony like show up in season 3, for example. Like, it was really nice when they like come up. So we'll see how they come up in the next season.
Well, that is all we have on Bridgerton, although I'm sure it will come up in future episodes because we have some things that always come up. But
I'll finally watch it.
Then we'll finally watch it.
There'll be a future episode where I'm like, guys, I have a lot of opinions.
Let's do it again. We're going to change our thoughts. But that's all we have for you today on this episode of AP Taylor Swift. Join us next week as we deep dive Dress. That's all we have for you today on AP Taylor Swift. Be sure to rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. Follow us on your social channel of choice at AP Taylor Swift to stay up to date. And join us next time as we overanalyze and deep dive into the next Taylor Swift song on AP Taylor Swift.